Greetings, God Tamers, Geo Claimers, and Game Blamers, Nail Masters, Spellcasters, Laser Blasters, Outlasters, Run Fasters. Okay, so I think I'm going to apologize for not routinely uploading like I know I should. Part of me felt like doing this video was a little, I don't know, superfluous, because, well, if I've given you all the boss tips I can scope out in this region of the galaxy, including Radiant difficulty, well, then obviously you would be fine in the Pantheons, right? Like, the logic is crystal clear. Nah, this video is just another excuse to rectally Ragnarok my viewer base with another blitzkrieg of rhymes, quips, and insults to stave off my otherwise encroaching insanity. Truth is, I've been doing videos on this game for 4 years, so I'm just bound to repeat myself eventually. And with newer players continuing to come in as a byproduct of the Silksong hype, I really should just get over that. No shame in updating old content, so here you go. Pantheon tips. We're starting with a tip for the final Pantheon, because that makes sense. When it comes to charm loadouts, it all comes down to what feels the most comfortable for you. This is really true no matter what at the end of the day. If you're willing to throw your shaman stones and marks of pride to the wayside in favor of a dedicated minion build that makes you smell like a bug's asshole, then I don't think anyone in the community is going to really judge you. Well, a few people might. But alas, your most comfortable charm loadout for fighting, say, Pure Vessel might not be exactly the same loadout you would use when fighting Lost Kin or Hornet Sentinel. Familiarize yourself with all the Pantheon splits so that when you've arrived at a bench, you can take note of what bosses are up next and make adjustments to your charms before heading out. These rest areas can be used for more than just health replenishing. If I'm entering Split 6, which contains bosses like No Eyes and White Defender, I would personally prioritize this build here, which is a fairly competent spell build with a touch of melee for reach, because the bosses in this split tend to jump around like the caffeine addicts they are. But if I'm heading into Split 4, which houses the Collector and God Tamer fights, I might be tempted to swap Shaman Stone and Soul Eater for melee charms like Quick Slash or Strength in this case. It's all about just knowing what comes next. It's no secret that the Hall of Gods can be your friend on the higher Pantheons if you want to practice on a specific boss. Usually my rule of thumb is that if you're able to vanquish a boss 6 or 7 times in a row on Ascended difficulty without dying, that's a pretty solid indication that you are ready to go after the Pantheon itself and tackle the real deal. Each of the Pantheons contain a final boss that you can't find anywhere outside of the God Home. Those bosses respectively being the Nail Masters, Bob Ross, Sly, Pure Vessel, and then finally Abzrad. Thing is, you don't have to beat them to unlock them in the Hall of Gods. You need only get to the fight itself. This is very intentional, because the game more or less wants you to do this. The Hall of Gods is designed as a practice tool, and there's no shame in taking out your suppressed frustration on Ascended Sly over and over again until your fingers fall off if you're tired of losing to him in the 3rd Pantheon. It's kind of what it's there for. It's there for you to kick the ass of a boss forcefully and frequently enough that by the time you're ready for the actual Pantheon, your ego's gonna be so inflated your head barely fits through the fucking door on the way in. The Pantheon of Hallownest, on average, will take players around 35 to 40 minutes to complete. So I want to reiterate what I've said in other videos in the past, just for a very particular branch of people that feel like every single run or thing they do has to be spotless. The Pantheon of Hallownest has a notoriety for punishing those that suffer from impatience and impulsivity. You are not fucking Fireborn. I'm not Fireborn either. I have multiple videos up that prove this very case. The final Pantheon is a mental endurance run, and it's a struggle of patience and decision making as much as it is actual gameplay. You're probably going to choke a couple times, and that's perfectly fine. Being cocky and using speedrun tactics will only ever end up getting you killed. Just downstrike the Venge fucks when they swoop below you, focus on getting in 1 hit on each Sister of Battle per attack, and just generally be okay with playing safer. Your vessel was not forged from the heroic fires of Valhalla or some shit. There's nothing shameful about taking your time and pacing yourself adequately so as to prevent sloppy mistakes. These Pantheons, especially the final one, are endurance tests. You don't get a speedrun achievement for handing the Pure Vessel its ass in less than 30 seconds, even if it would make a pretty cool video. Just take things slow. Completing bindings on the Pantheons count towards opening the door on the bottom left section of the Godhome area, and continuing to complete Pantheons will add Lifeseeds to all the rest areas that separate bosses in the final Pantheon. Take advantage of these, like, please. The extra health buff can potentially save a run if you choke on a boss in a later split. Complete the first 2 Pantheons, running through them only with 1 active binding at a time if you have to, and that's going to free up 3 extra life seeds per split in the final Pantheon. Completing 12 bindings in total gives you 4 life seeds per split, and completing 16 bindings will give you 5. There's really no reason not to take advantage of these. It's a bit of a time commitment and perhaps takes a little elbow grease for all those bindings, but unlocking this room can really make a huge difference in how your final Pantheon run is going to go. The final bench in Pantheon 5 is placed right before the 2 hardest bosses, and starting out with a few extra hit points versus a boss that does double damage per attack is a massive game changer. And if you somehow manage to do a hitless pure vessel, then all that means is that extra safety net is going to carry over all the way into the Absrat fight, which is even more clutch. So yeah. Use the goddamn life seeds, please. A lot of the bosses have variants exclusive to the final Pantheon, minor tweaks to the physical environment and whatnot. So if you're going after the Pantheon of Hallownest, it might not be enough to just practice all of the bosses on standard attuned difficulty. Some of the arena changes require a fight on ascended difficulty to more accurately reflect the nature of their fight. The Gruzmother contains spiked areas in between platforms, Marmu's arena is surrounded by thorns, Nosk no longer has the cheesable platform set in the middle of the arena, Markoth doesn't have a fucking floor, and there are a few others as well. Ascended bosses add an extra layer of platforming difficulty along with the boss itself, and so the best method of practice to get the full final Pantheon experience is to practice certain bosses on Ascended. It's also just good practice in general because all the bosses deal extra damage, and practicing on Ascended, if anything, will just end up over-preparing you for most of the fights anyways. There's really no such thing as overcorrection when it comes to the final Pantheon, really. Oh shit, I almost forgot. If you leave Zote to die in the green path, the Pantheons actually skip GPZ. Like, the Godhome just straight up ignores his existence. It's not the most honorable way to complete the Pantheons in my opinion, but it does help. It helps quite a bit, actually. I know the title said 5, but I just thought I'd give you that last one, because I've always thought it was funny. But anyways, yeah, I'm Rusty. Thanks for tuning into the Can't say that anymore. Whoops. I mean, our Discord server is called The Forge, so I guess that outro can still be semi-relevant. Yeah, the video's over is what I'm trying to say. Just bye. Go do the thing. Go complete the Pantheons. I'll see you in the next video.